Hey everybody, Kevin here from ChangeWorks Interactive. Today I've got a very special guest. I want to welcome Abhi Lahiri. And Abhi is a CPA and he is a wealth of knowledge. And I've gotten to know Abhi over about the last year or so. Abhi, welcome to our program.
Thanks, Kevin, for having me. Yeah, I would really love to have this conversation. And I like to say financial and emotional well being goes hand in hand. So I hope we and our audience get to know each other as well as the topic better. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, Abhi stands by his motto, doing more with less, and helping business owners create the life that they want. Just some other things about Abhi. He's an international speaker, and he takes really a holistic view when it comes to helping companies and helping leaders solve big challenges. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
Yeah, and I would just like to tweak that one liner, which is I like to say less is more and do more with less, right?
Okay.
And I would just like to take 1 second or minute to explain that. Less is more
Sure.
means,
Yeah.
prioritization. Rather than focusing on doing 10 things, just take 3, 4 at the most so that you can focus most of your time and energy on that. And doing more with less is about having an ROI or return on investment mindset, whereby you are trying to see that your last dollar is working really hard for you and getting the best return to you. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Maybe I could just jump into our first question then, Abhi. And what I'd really like to know is, as a fractional CFO, if you hear that term, right? A lot of people don't know what that is, or they make an assumption that that's only for big business. So if I'm for example, a smaller or medium-sized business, that might not even apply to me. So maybe you can dispel that myth for us a little bit.
No, that's a great question, and I hear it all the time in most of the networking events. Whenever I introduce myself as a fractional CFO, what? Can you please explain what does a fractional CFO do so you are not alone?
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, every company, irrespective of their size or maturity, can use that, right? Because what I like to say, 3 points maybe. The first one is about fractional CFO being the North Star or accountability partner, right? So business owners can be very lonely. They need someone who can act like a sounding board to them, who can hear their concerns and then explain to them in very simple words. They speak that language that the business owner understands, right? Which is what a fractional CFO can do. The second one is accountants look back, whereas fractional CFOs look ahead. We use, instead of the lagging indicators that are available from your financials, we use more forward-looking indicators like how much it is requiring you to acquire a customer. What is your LTV, that is long-term value from a customer? Does it make sense to acquire this additional customer at the cost that you are doing, right? So those are some of the things. And the third one, what I like to say is KPIs. What gets measured gets managed. So fractional CFO can help you monitor your business with the help of relevant KPIs that your business should be measuring.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, just talking to you in advance of our session today, Abhi, we were kind of talking about, what's a good format for us to have during something like this, and we both agreed that, maybe the best format that we could have is to kind of go back and forth. So, your focus is really about financial health. Mine is really about psychological, emotional health, right? So in some ways we can complement each other. So maybe we'll kind of go back and forth. So I asked you the first question about your role. Maybe you could shoot one back to me.
Amazing. No, exactly. People, the question that comes to my mind is people prioritize work over health, thinking, that this is the most important thing right now.
Yeah.
What are some of the common and easy to do habits that a business owner can introduce in their lives? I would say, yeah, I would like to hear from you.
Yeah. I think to answer that, Abhi, and I like the question because you had mentioned that you take a holistic view. You look at a lot of different elements. I certainly do the same. When you look at somebody and you look at their lives, we can't silo somebody into saying that it's all about their work life. We could say that there's lots of different parts that we really need to look at. And can we look at their career life? Can we look at their financial life? Can we look at their mental health, their physical health? Are they getting outside and enjoying nature enough? What's happening in the family? Because some of these don't sync up all the time. If I am working too much, maybe the impact is something on my family life that needs tweaking or needs adjusting. So the way that I like to use it and think about it is there's a particular type of therapy. As a psychotherapist, I draw upon my skills working in modalities like cognitive behavioral therapy or solution-focused therapy. And in solution-focused therapy, we might look at something like maybe it's my relationships, right? My relationship with my significant other, my relationship with my kids. And if I was to say, if this was the continuum and here's 0 and here's 10, where do you put yourself on that scale? And regardless of where a person might put themselves on that scale, my question following where their mark is, let's say they say you know what, I'd like to connect with my kids a little bit more. I may be a 6 out of 10. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. How do we get to a 6.5? What are we going to do that is tangible, something that we could really put into play that would help that relationship? When we look at our mental health and things like, controlling our stress level, or a lot of people, especially after the new year, they'll say, oh, I really should go to the gym. I should work out more. Well, let's look at your physical health. Let's put that on the same scale. What are those small habits or things that I can do that move me along that overall increase good mental health, right? Thank you for that question. I think that's really an important one. All right, one thing I'd like to really know, Abhi, and I think you'd have a really good perspective on it, is that if someone's not feeling like the financial health is in order, their financial house is in order, that could certainly be a major source of anxiety. I see that with my clients and my patients all the time, is that they don't have the money to do what they want to do. It's a real source of anxiety. Would you have any tips, or would you perhaps have some things that you could mention about that might be tangible, good plans that people can put into play that might help them with their financial health?
Oh yeah, that's a great question, and I see that with a lot of my clients as well. When they come back, they are at times very overwhelmed, and like I said, a lot of business owners, they are great in doing their piece. Somebody is maybe great in doing their sales bit or marketing bit or operations or whatever is their product or service, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of them may not be financial wizards, but they still need that strategic financial advisory from someone like a fractional CFO. And again, I would just like to use that why the word fractional is used, right? So you get the expertise of a CFO at a fractional cost. That's why the word fractional is used here. So the 3 things that I like to talk to my clients is, first one is, again, KPIs. So start with, setting something very simple, that in terms of that can give the pulse of your business, right? And again, every business is different because they come from different industry. Somebody is in manufacturing and somebody is in consulting and somebody is in software.
Sure.
So depending on the industry, the KPIs have to be tweaked and nuanced based on what makes sense to them. So that's the first one. The second one, I like to tell all my clients to have a cash reserve, which should be at least 6 months for their upcoming operational expenses. So for that, they need a cash flow forecast so that they know that how much money they need, even if they don't have any revenue coming, right? So that at least that just brings that peace of mind to them.
Sure.
And last but not least is to separate business and personal finance. I see a lot of business owners, particularly in their early days, making that mistake. and it need not be very complex. Just start with having a separate bank account, separate credit card for your business, and then of course as you mature, make sure that you have a good bookkeeper or an accountant, and then a fractional CFO depending on the maturity of your business.
Those things seem so easy to put into play. You still see a lot of people that just don't do it?
Oh yeah, yeah. And again, I would not say it's their fault. Maybe, I would like to see financial literacy to be introduced in our curriculum, right? And that's one of the things which is missing. People learn a lot of things about history and what has happened in geography, but they don't know how to file their taxes. They don't know how to generate and make wealth. What are the KPIs that they need to assess to know that they are progressing in the right direction or not? Yeah.
And as a former educator, I can agree with you 100%. There's not enough done on financial literacy. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, Kevin. Just like business have KPIs, how do a person have some KPIs to know about the state of their mental well-being?
That's a good question too, Abhi, and thanks for that. I think we're physical human beings, right? Like we're physical. There's lots of different parts to us, and one of the needs that we have as human beings is that we really have to go back to basics, and we got to look at. I think we have to look at some of those basic things that lead to good mental health or good overall health as well, and. Hey, like it's sifting through some of that stuff on social media as well, because if we really get into it and we try to do everything that's out there on social media, we're going to feel like we're swamped, and that's going to make us anxious. Well, let's go back to basics. Let's focus on some things that are really basic. And basic things are, am I moving throughout my day? Yep. Am I getting the sleep that I need? Am I eating properly, staying hydrated, minimizing my stress? Great. Those are really the basic things that I have to look at. And I've said this before on other podcasts. I think it's sort of like the buffet analogy. So if I go to the buffet and the buffet are perhaps all of these things that I could do for good mental health. One of the items on the buffet might be journaling. It might be meditation. It might be yoga. It might be learning to breathe properly. It might be exercising, focusing on my sleep. Whatever's on the buffet. Some people might go by the buffet and say, you know what, I like this. I'm going to take some of this or do some of this, but I'm not so big on that. Yeah. So it's taking what you resonate with and creating a routine around that. I happen to like the activity side of it. I like walking. I've got a little dog at home. My dog's great because my dog takes me out for a walk, and it's wonderful. It gets me walking, and I know my own mental health. I feel better if I go on my walk. If I don't, I miss it. If I don't do my workouts, I miss that. And I don't feel the same.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a yoga guy, so whenever I go out for a trip and I miss that thing, and there's typically a group yoga lesson. I typically go at least 2 times a week, and I really miss it. Whenever I'm going on a trip, I always think, I'm going to miss my yoga.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's wonderful. If we could keep the routine alive, then I think it just becomes second nature. It becomes part of us, just like breathing or eating.
Of course.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, stop there.
We're at about 16-minute mark, by the way.
Okay.
So maybe we'll stop with that last question. I think you had that early warning signs, and I will say about stress affects decision making. What are some of the practical ways business owners can manage stress, right? So we'll stop with that one.
That sounds good. Yeah. That sounds good. Help me understand, Abhi, like in the financial world, would there be some particular signs that somebody is, I'm just thinking of a boat analogy. Someone's kind of heading towards the rocks or heading towards the shore, right? Would there be some warning signs that, things aren't operating the way that they should, and maybe the fractional CFO could help course correct?
No, that's a great question. Yeah, I would say there are definitely early warning signals that any and every business can use. The first one is to see their cash flow, right? If their cash flows are declining on a month to month basis, on a consistent basis, and they have to avail loans in order to pay for their salaries or pay for their vendors, that's definitely not a good place to be at, right? The second one is their profit margin, right? If they are losing money, and again, I don't want to get into a lot of complexity, but this is where a fractional CFO comes in. There is something called contributory margin. That means just deducting the variable cost, you should be at least profitable at that level, because otherwise it means that for every cup of coffee you are making, you are losing. So that's not, again, a great spot to be at.
Yeah.
And I would say the third one, last but not least, is about increasing customer concentration, which is about risk. That means, say, if two of your customers are making 80% of your net sales, again, you may think that it's not affecting your business today, but tomorrow, if any of them gets bankrupt or anything, your business has a huge exposure. So it's always good to diversify your portfolio and have more customers so that you're not dependent on a single one.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Those are really good,
Yeah.
really good pieces of advice.
Yeah. Sorry, I have a question as well, which is about stress, right? In today's world, stress, I would say, is the single biggest piece that's impacting everyone. And of course, business owners more, because they have so many balls that they are always juggling. Do you have any practical suggestions that business owners can use to minimize or mitigate stress?
I'm glad that you asked me that. A lot of my clients that do come in, they are bombarded with stress, and I think it's getting more and more prevalent as we go. The simple answer to that is that yes, we can do things to mitigate stress, and one of the things that unfortunately happens is when we get all of this stress, there's some things that start to fall off the table. We don't see family and friends as often. We start to avoid a little bit more. We may even use drugs or alcohol more, unhealthy lifestyles. Those kind of creep in a little bit, and things start to fall off the table. So we have to be careful with that. If I'm avoiding more or I'm doing things that aren't healthy for me, I really got to watch that. To answer your question specifically, I really think that a lot of the solution lies in our level of communication. Speak to somebody that you trust. It's amazing when you talk to people and you ask them to describe something that is causing them anxiety or causing them stress, and you talk about it and you dissect it and you try to come up with a plan, that afterwards you ask them, well, how do you feel? And nothing's really changed except the fact that they've communicated that. And they might translate that and talk to people that are close to them. And by talking, the anxiety level seems to drop. And there's been a lot of studies with this, Abhi, that if, let's say the intervention was just being able to communicate a little bit more, and we had some kind of standard way of measuring anxiety, for example, that if there's an intervention that's done, whether somebody reads something, watches a video, does something practical, like some of those things that I mentioned earlier on the buffet, even doing those things should mitigate some of the stress in our lives. And if it does that, let's keep doing it. Let's develop a routine around that. So I love your question. Thank you.
No, and I love that as well, because it's all about that accountability partner, or having somebody to whom you can talk about your problems, whether it is your physical health related problems, then you can go to a coach, and again, if it's a finance related, you can go to somebody like me, and if it is emotional related, they can go to somebody like you, right? Ultimately, physical, mental, and financial wellness have to be in sync.
Yes, I agree, 100%. Now, just for our listeners, Abhi, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I will share my contact details
Okay.
in the links.
Yep.
Yeah, and they can contact me, and I would be happy to help them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Abhi, it was a pleasure speaking with you today. I hope we get the opportunity to do so as well in the near future. And I want to wish you all the success and wealth and happiness to you and your family.
No, same here. It was a great experience talking to you on this podcast. I wish you all the best as well.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.